Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Afghanistan by Afghans, where you get to meet Afghans from across the world living in diaspora. Today, I'm very excited to have Fahim John with us. Fahim Farooq is a studied information technology, but now also does photography and does an amazing job of photography. And as someone who also does a little bit of photography, I'm very impressed by his work and excited to have a conversation with him. So he lives in Berlin, and it's pretty late at night, and I'm very happy. You don't live in Berlin. Oh wow. Okay, we're
I
gonna.
live in
You live in
Bonn.
Germany.
I live in Germany. I live in Bonn. Bonn was the
In
capital.
Bonn.
Bonn
Exactly.
was
There
the
we go.
capital. Yeah.
I know. So he lives in Bonn, good, and not Berlin. And I spoke with Kais, actually, one of our previous episodes. He lives in
Yeah.
uh, Berlin. I don't know if you know him as
I
an
know.
artist. We've had a conversation with him in the past. So if you like that, if you like to hear about an Berlin-based artist, check that episode out. But now we are here with Fahim John. So Fahim, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks. It's nice to be here.
So I wanted to ask you first and foremost, kind of about your family's journey from Afghanistan to Germany. What was the journey like?
Yeah. My family flew because of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union came to Afghanistan, and the communists and I would say the Mujahideen had the war, and that's why my family flew to Germany. My father was a medicine student, and my mother was a young schoolgirl. They didn't meet each other in Afghanistan. They meet each other in Germany, and they came here and married here. Yeah, my father studied in Germany also medicine, and he wanted to marry, and he wanted a wife. So he knew there's a family who has a daughter, and yeah, it's a simple romantic story, and they married each other.
That's wonderful. No,
Yeah,
that's wonderful. And this is in the 80s, right? We're talking mid 80s,
right. It was in the mid early 80s.
mid to early 80s. Yeah, yeah.
Early
So,
mid 80s. Yeah, early mid 80s. Yeah.
right, right. Germany, for the audience, is one of those countries with one of the highest populations of Afghans outside of Afghanistan. I believe U.S. is number one in terms of population, anywhere between 250 to half a million, and I believe Germany has about 200 or 250,
Right.
100,000.
Yeah,
Correct.
we 250,000 Afghans here.
Yes. So I want to know kind of how was it being raised in Bonn, not Berlin,
Right.
as an Afghan?
It's it was amazing, I think, because there is also a large Afghan community here. So all of my family lives in Bonn. I would say most of my family lives in Bonn. All Afghans have family abroad, but the majority lives in Bonn. Yeah, but also during school there is racism because I also grew up during the Taliban time, and for most Germans, when they think about Afghanistan, they think of Taliban, and you know um, there are stereotypes about Afghans. Yeah,
Of course. So you were definitely labeled, I guess, as such, and perhaps teased.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's a common story.
Yeah, of course.
um, your city, Bonn, you were telling me earlier, is where they had one of the first conferences right after in the I guess 2000s after 9/11
Mhm.
as to who's going to go and kind of facilitate Afghanistan or be the president. And um, you had mentioned that that's where Karzai was elected, right? One of the first, not one
Yes,
of the first.
yeah.
Um,
It's
he was elected in that. So yeah, I believe that was called like the Bonn Conferences or
right.
something. It has its own official name, but yeah.
Yes. It,
Um,
yeah,
so
yeah, right. The unofficial name was Bonn Conference. It was funny because Hamid Karzai was not in Bonn. but a lot of um, great politicians from Afghanistan were there, but not Hamid Karzai, and they elected him.
They elected him, and he was at that time he was in the U.S. or
Yeah,
something.
it was
That's
in, he was in the
interesting.
US.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned kind of growing up in the community and kind of having that external factor of Germans thinking, you're a Talib or something of that nature. How was the Afghan community? Because it's a sizable Afghan community there. Were there Afghan cultural events or anything like that that you were able to be part of?
I have to say, the Afghans in Germany are a little bit lazy, I would say, because there are big weddings in Germany,
Hmm.
Weddings here are also very big, a lot of people, but there are not a lot of big events with Afghans from another families. I think in the US it's a little bit better.
Right. I think a lot of Europeans feel like that. Even when I was speaking to Kais, he also mentioned the same thing. But I would say it's pretty similar. I see a lot of concerts, for example, taking place in
Mhm.
Germany.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
and whenever these musicians do concerts, it's the same amount of cities they hit in Europe than they do in the U.S.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, of course, you living
Yeah.
there. What about cultural? Like, are there stores and other elements that you can kind of because you were born there? So, what is your basically introduction or understanding of Afghan culture?
I have to say there are stores, but so few in Bonn. In
Hmm.
Bonn there are few, but if you go to Hamburg, one of the biggest city in Germany, there are more stores and mm, more cultural events.
Hmm.
In Bonn, there are very, very few. So most of the time, I spent the Afghan culture with my family. For example, Eid, Eid
Hmm.
al-Fitr, and the weddings, the gatherings,
Hmm.
and also some demonstrations. You know, I
Hmm.
also like to take part of the Afghan demonstrations and also
Hmm.
capture it.
Right, right. Have you been able to do photography of demonstrations and
Yeah,
such?
yeah.
Okay, that's great. So I want to know a little bit now about your interest in photography, because obviously you went and studied to be a computer scientist, and I believe you're still working as one as well. So what kind of caught your attention about starting to do photography?
Whew. I bought a camera and it was so interesting to learn so many things with it. You have to communicate a lot with a model or a client, and also have to know so much, um, You have so much. Let me think. You need to know what is good light and
Hmm.
what is a good camera, what are the formats, the lenses, and that's the technical and also the human things are the things that interested me to become a photographer as well.
That's wonderful. That's so funny that you would say that the technical, because obviously you're doing portraits,
Mhm.
and the technical becomes very important when you're doing portraits because the lighting and getting the
Yeah,
person in the right, yeah, the artistic aspect of it as well. And your framing. When I look at your photography, there are also great framings and all of that as well. What about the artistic aspect of it? Is it something you had right away, or you developed over time?
I think it developed over time because if you photograph a lot, eventually you get the style.
Hmm.
You get the style. Um, I also look I also look in Pinterest and Instagram, and that's my inspirational things. Um, and my biggest interest is fashion photography. Um, I also bought a lot of books from famous photographers and analyzed their work. So my step is my my aim is to be more a fashion photographer, and I like the perspectives of uh, the weird perspectives and also weird poses. Yeah,
Right. A lot of the fashion photography. That's kind of what your focus has
yeah,
been, right? People,
yeah.
people. What have you learned about people by photographing them now? And how long has it been? How many years have you been doing it now for?
I think I've been doing it for 3 years, and yeah,
That's
and
great.
yeah, and it's it was in the beginning. It was a little bit struggling for me because I'm not the most extroverted guy. But when I have the camera, I'm more extroverted, I think, than without it.
It gives you a little shield.
Yeah, because you have to motivate the person in front of the camera to do such weird things, such weird poses, such strong poses, and etc.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so when you had, now we're going to talk a little bit about the demonstrations and your city, kind of. So when you had a chance to photograph these demonstrations, when did they start, and what was your process of going in there and photographing your own people,
Mm.
basically, voicing their concerns?
Yeah, I did that after the Taliban, after they got the power, and mm, I wanted to capture the emotions of Afghans and how they feel about it, and um, yeah, that was my aim, to show it to the world. Yeah, I have two Instagram accounts. One is just fashion photography, and the other one is a little bit more political stuff. And there I share some of my Afghan work, I would say.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. You were saying, so in this process, of course, this is the first time maybe in 20 something years that Afghans were out in the streets. Was it
Yeah,
also your first time being part of demonstrations and such? Um, how did it feel for you, kind of being now all of the sudden you have, wanting to go tell your own stories?
it it was an amazing feeling, and I think it was also very important for Afghans because I could share for the world how Afghans feel about that topic. Because um, also in German media they just show the white guy who talks about Afghanistan, and the problem with German media is that they don't show the Afghan voices, because also in Germany we have a lot of great Afghan journalists who can also speak German, but they don't show them. They just show the white guy who is the expert in Afghanistan topic, in the Afghanistan topic.
So the voices of the average Afghan is not really heard that much.
Right.
Um, have you seen after August kind of a shift in that the media is maybe covering a little bit more of Afghan voices, or is it continued to be the same?
Ooh, it's the same, I have to say, but now there is very few topics about Afghanistan now. Very, very few. They
Right.
just they don't show them so much, and it's very sad because we have one of the one of the most one of the largest Afghan groups here,
Mhm.
in the Western world.
That's correct. That's correct. And so, do you feel that Afghans themselves, like what you did with going out there photographing, um, do you think there are spaces for Afghans themselves to be able to tell their own stories? Have you seen a few activities arising after that?
Yeah, I have seen that. I was also a lot of I took also part of a lot of events and helped them to grow and to share their stories. But it's sad that also some Afghans don't think about Afghanistan anymore, because it's I can understand it, because you want also live your life, but it's sad that we don't gather so much anymore.
Right. Of course. What could be what do you think the reasonings are? Why do you think that is?
Phew, that's a really hard question.
You can
Oh,
answer it easily.
yeah, yeah. You have to also live your life, no? You can't just think about Afghanistan. It's sad. I think all Afghans have trauma and also a post-trauma and a post-generational trauma, but also the struggles in Germany is also a problem. So you have to decide what can you do in your free time. Think about Afghanistan, or do you want to enjoy your life? And of course, it's always better to enjoy your life.
Right. It's easier.
It's
Do
easier.
you find that people of your generation kind of face this, how would I say, this kind of dichotomy where they want to be of help, but at the same time they have to kind of live and move on? Is it a real struggle for first generation people like yourself?
Mm, can you explain it again?
Is it a struggle to basically balance uh, caring about a country that their people's parents came from, but also trying to move on with their life, or not move on, but just kind of live their daily life, right? I mean, for in your example, for example, you're able to do your fashion photography, but at the same time be able to kind of do photography that were focused more editorial,
Mm,
capturing Afghan voices. Do you think that is a very hard thing to do? Um, or you just have to kind of have the interest to do it?
you have, I think you have to be interested in it. But I have to say, my generation has the interest to do it because I connected. I the networking was really good after the fall of after the win of the Taliban. I met a lot of great people, great Afghans after that, and we also got better connected to each other.
Hmm.
Mm, and we also shared a lot of stories. So I think um, they have interest, or the interest is there, but also there's also struggle because of the working job and of the jobs, and you have to have a good time management.
Yeah. Balancing. It's a
Balancing.
balancing act. Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
balancing act,
It's
yeah.
hard to balance. Yeah. So it's a struggle similarly like in the U.S. with, and I'm sure all parts of the world, with anybody who comes from multiple cultures or dual identities, also who are connected to different countries, to be able to balance. And a lot of people also struggle even with the concept of identity.
Mhm.
Like, who am I? If my parents are from Afghanistan, I was born in Germany and was raised there. Am I German? Am I Afghan? Am I a mix of both? Did you ever struggle with this sort of identity?
Every day. I struggle every day with it because
Okay.
um, I know in the fifth grade, in the English, in my English class, the teacher said to me, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Afghanistan." But on the other hand, I was born in Germany, so my German is way better than my daddy. So it's a really big struggle because some Germans say you are German, and some Germans say you are not a German because your hair is dark. I know a topic in my kindergarten. My mother said to me, I said to my mother, "Hey, Mother John, um, where are you from? Where am I from?" And my mother said, "Hey, you are a German." And I said, that isn't that it can't be possible because my heart is dark. I can't be a German. And I mean, in the kindergarten, I realized that I'm different.
Mm.
Uh, so this topic is a really, I think it's a topic that every immigrant struggles, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. It's a journey. It's a journey, and it's also a spectrum of how much people feel in one side or the other, or a combination of both. And it's a journey of
Yeah,
self-discovery, I think, right? And it's unique to all immigrants
right.
because you're connected to two different geolocations and to cultural identity. So in this journey, where are you at? What do you feel yourself? I know what the outside world thinks and says
Yeah,
how you should feel, but how do you feel?
I have to say it's easier to hear the voices of the outsides because the outside say you are an Afghan, you're a German, you're a German Afghan. So they know what to call you, but it's for me, it's a struggle for me. I would say I am a mix of both worlds. I am I am a German, of course, because I have a German passport and so on. I lived here. I know the culture, okay, a little bit, and I'm also an Afghan because I also know the culture of Afghans. Um, I eat Afghan. I listen also to Afghan music.
Hmm.
I like the clothing of Afghans.
Hmm.
I'm mix of both worlds, I think.
Mix of both words. And are you comfortable? Are you at a stage where you're just comfortable with who you are?
Uh, I am comfortable sometimes, I would say. There is some days I think, hmm, I think, can I be a German? Can I be an Afghan? Just an Afghan? But most of the time I'm comfortable.
Hmm. I guess only when you're reminded at times that maybe you're not German or you're not Afghan enough or German enough is the times where it becomes a struggle, maybe, right?
Right, right. I know there was a political discussion about a German topic. I wrote something in Instagram about it, and a guy told me, "Hey, go back to Afghanistan. We are Germans. You are not a German. Don't discuss about the internal things about here."
Hmm.
So there was sometimes racism here, and then you know you are different.
When you're reminded.
Yeah, when you're reminded, right?
Right, right. Yeah, that's beautiful. And what sort of activities since August have you been participating in? You mentioned there were some networking, you're meeting a lot of other Afghans. What sort of more cultural activities have you been part of, or community sort of development stuff?
So there was, so we managed. How can I say manage? We managed a lot of demonstration, for example, about the human crisis in Afghanistan, and also some events, some benefits. You
Hmm.
can,
Fundraisers, yeah. Hmm.
yeah, fundraisers. Uh, but the fundraising events weren't so cultural, I would say. Mm, we didn't have cultural music and so on, but there were more demonstrations here
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
past months.
Hmm. And how has the German kind of government responded to these demonstrations?
It's sad because they ignored it, I would say. Um, it was very funny because it's also very funny because there was a meeting with the foreign minister, with the foreign secretary of Germany, and about Afghanistan, and there was a lot of people there, but not an Afghan organization, just the German organization about Afghanistan, but not an Afghan diaspora organization.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Right.
non-Afghans were there, but the Afghan diaspora couldn't speak to the foreign minister.
Hmm.
It's
So
sad.
they're yeah, so they talk about Afghanistan, but with no Afghan present in
Yeah,
those conversations. Yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah,
also in the media the same thing.
yeah.
When they speak about Afghanistan, there is just the white German guy, the white German expert who talks about Afghanistan, but we are one of the largest group, one of the largest, we are 250,000 Afghans here, and there are also a lot of good Afghan journalists who can speak German,
Mhm.
and they are the real experts, I would say.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Well, you've definitely uh, given us a lot to chew about and chew on. Actually, a lot of good food for thought about
Yeah,
identity. I know those are some hard questions to go into, but I'm thankful that you went in there and we kind of got to chat a little bit about identity, um, and also kind of the status of Afghans in Germany. Um, I know these topics are difficult to talk about, both on emotional level and also the language barrier as well. But I'm very thankful that you're able to, to talk about them. And now, as we kind of go towards wrapping up our conversation for today, what is it? I wanted to kind of take it back a little more personal about you and your photography and future goals. What are you hoping to achieve with your life, with photography, and um, yeah, what can we expect from you? Any specific projects or anything that we can look forward to?
my aim is to have a shooting outside of Germany. For example, Los Angeles, Dubai. That would be my aim. I want. It's it's my biggest dream is also to work for a big magazine, but I think can do it in few years in the future, in the near future.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I hope you get to do it. That's wonderful. Like
Yes.
fashion magazines.
Yeah, fashion magazines, because um, you know my site, and yeah, my um, I love take fashion photos.
Right, right. I know that's what you excel at. With only 3 years, when I saw your work, I was like, no, this has maybe been about like 10 years or something because some really great work. You have some great
Thanks
work.
a lot.
So I thank you so much, I'm John, for being here
Thank you.
today. Um, I appreciate your time. And for audiences out there, if you have liked this conversation, thank you for sticking around till the end. There's more in the series with other Afghans talking about different topics, so please check those out. And once again, Fahim John, I thank you for being on the show. Now we'll let you go to sleep.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night. Bye bye. Thank you.
Ciao.